Hi, everyone. This is Erica Peterson here. So thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, this is a product training for teachers who have a Listenwise Premium. So whether you're a brand new teacher and don't even have an account yet, or you used Listenwise last year and just looking for a refresher of all of our product features, I'm going to walk you through everything from beginning to end. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box, and I'll review them at the end of the webinar. And then if you don't currently have Listenwise Premium, but you are interested in a subscription for your school or classroom, please email sales@listenwise.com for more information. So to jump right in, just some background on Listenwise. We are an award-winning listening skills platform. We use NPR stories and podcasts to help students build listening and literacy skills for grades 5 to 12. We've curated over 1,000 stories, so we'll help you bring compelling real-world stories into the classroom. And each story is paired with teaching resources, suggested questions, written assignments, and quizzes to make it easy for you to fit listening into your curriculum, as well as assess student progress. So if you don't have an account yet, you will click Join Free on the Listenwise homepage. If you already have an account, I'll show you how to upgrade to Premium in a moment. So this is the screen you're going to see when you're signing up. If you use Google at school, we recommend you signing up with your Google account. But if not, you can always just use your first and last name and email. And then once you create your account, you're going to see this screen when you sign in. And if you ever need to reset your password, you can always do that. So from here. And then once you have logged into your free account, you're going to click Have a Premium Code in the upper right-hand corner of your dashboard. And you will then enter the premium code that your school shared with you. So this code is only for teachers upgrading to premium. Students are going to use a different code to enroll in your classes, which I'll show you later on. So just showing here an example of what a code will look like. And then once you input that code and upgrade to premium, you're going to have access to all of our features now. So the first step when you have premium is to create your classes. So you will create as many classes as you need. So let's say you teach 4 social studies classes. You could then create those classes here in Listenwise. Just make sure to choose a unique name, because both students and teachers will see this name. And then last up, you need to click Accept the Privacy Policy. We've signed the Student Privacy Pledge and take responsibility for protecting student information seriously. And then lastly, you'll just click Create Class. And then you will be sent to this page. So you will need to send your students to the URL, listenwise.com/students/sign-up to enroll your students. And then they'll sign up for accounts from there. And just want to point out that you can always find instructions on how to invite more students on the Classes tab, but I'll show you how to find that during the live demo. And then just want to point out, for every class you create, you'll get a unique class code for that class. So every code, you'll notice, is an adjective, an animal, and a 4-digit number. So this is the code that your students will use. And then next up, switching gears to the student experience. Students will see this screen when they come to the Listenwise student sign-in page. So the first time they come here, they will need to sign up for an account. When they click Sign Up, they will see this screen. So regardless of using Google or creating their own username and password, they are all going to need to enter the class code. So just make sure you have that handy with you. And that's the code that that was generated when you created that new class. So just make sure you have that handy. And students will only need to enter this code once when they first join your class. And then obviously, if you're using Google for School, we recommend using that for streamlined logins. But if not, students just need to create a username, input their first and last name, and then create a password. Email is optional for student accounts. This is what students will see when they log in. All of their assignments are going to be listed here on the left. And then to complete assignments, they simply just need to click Complete, and then you'll also see a little preview of what it's going to look like for students once they've completed assignments or they have feedback from their teachers. And then students can always search for stories. Useful, perhaps if they're doing a research project or you just want to encourage student agency, they do have access to every story on our platform at any time. And then this is what a story will look like to students when they're searching for stories on their end. They're going to see the story summary. They'll have the audio, and they'll see the transcript, interactive transcript, and related features, as well as the text help toolbar. So these are all default features included in the student view. But obviously, when you create an assignment for students, they will also see the resources you decide to include, like vocabulary or comprehension questions. But I'll show you how that will all function later on. And then just quickly want to point out with the exciting new feature that we added this month. It's called Text Help. So it's a toolbar that will be at the bottom of the page for any story that students are looking at on their end. And you can also include it as a support in assignments you create. So essentially, students can highlight any text on the page and have it read out loud to them. So fantastic support for ELLs or struggling readers, and we're really excited to bring it to you. So now we are going to switch over to the live demo. And just want to show you here, this is the dashboard. So once you sign into your premium account, this is what it's going to look like. So you'll have a snapshot of quiz performance for each of your classes on the left. In the middle, you will see upcoming assignments, and you can check status of completion for students. And then you'll have current events here on the right. And just want to give you a brief overview of our stories before we dive into the details. As I mentioned before, we have over 1,000 stories on Listenwise, and they've all been carefully chosen by our team. We do the work of curating all the stories for the classroom, so it's going to be really easy for you to find a well-produced, great story to incorporate into your instruction. And all stories are between 3 and 6 minutes long, curated from NPR and podcasts. They will always be appropriate and relevant for students in middle through high school. These stories are going to align to your curriculum. They will help you meet state standards, and then they're paired with those teaching resources just to seamlessly help students learn that rigorous academic content. So we take two approaches to our content. We have daily current events that you'll see here on your dashboard. And then we also have standard aligned lessons, which I will show you in a few minutes. But first off, let's just click into a current event story, and I'll show you how our stories work. So for our current events, we use both local and global stories that were recently in the news. They have relevance for students and are good for classroom use. So topics range from politics to science to art to culture. We even do some fun ones about animals and sports because students seem to enjoy those. And there will be a new current event posted every school day. And then we'll have a debate story posted on Friday to encourage student engagement and classroom discussion. So scrolling down, one of the best features of Listenwise is the audio and interactive transcript. So let me just play a little bit of that for you.
The Trump administration is winding down a program that protects young immigrants from deportation, those who entered.
So you will see that the transcript, the words were highlighted as the audio is being spoken. So great support for students who need a little extra support while listening. And as it's in the name, the interactive transcript is completely interactive. So you can hop around, repeat words as much as necessary. So I'll show you how that sounds.
The country illegally as children. It has paved the way for nearly 800 entered the country illegally.
So you'll see you can hop around as much as needed. And then for students who need a little bit more time to understand the audio they're hearing, they can click this button here to slow down the audio, and I'll show you how that sounds.
The Trump administration is winding down a program that protects young immigrants from deportation.
So you'll see it's about 20% slower than the original speed. So great support for students who just find stories a little challenging, can always slow down that audio to give them more time to understand the language they're hearing. And then with our interactive transcript down here, you can always print or download the transcript, perhaps if you're listening as a whole class or not everyone has computers in your classroom. And then lastly, any user, teacher, or student can always hide the interactive transcript if you just want to focus on listening to the audio. And then over here on the Assignments Resources tab, we have comprehension questions and discussion themes for every current event story. And discussion themes can be good for classroom discussion, but they're also great as writing prompts. So again, these lessons are customizable and you can do what you want with them with your students. Scrolling up to the top, we have a few action items you can take. So you can create an assignment and have students complete it electronically in Listenwise. You can always favorite a story here while you're browsing, and then they'll be put into your favorites tab, and then you can go back and easily find your story and assign it when you're ready to teach it. Or you can always share the audio, and we call this a listening link. So if you want students to listen to the story without completing an assignment, you can use this. So maybe as a bell ringer on a Monday morning, or if you want to embed the audio story into an assignment you've already created, you can use that link. And then also just want to point out you can share the link to Google Classroom as well. So now I'm going to show you how to create an assignment. So we'll just click this button here. And it will take us to assign the current event. So it's a 3-step process here and completely customizable to your needs. So the first step is to create a name. Students are not going to see this name. They're only going to see the name of the story on their end. So perhaps you want to create a few different versions to differentiate assignments for groups of students. So you can name that accordingly here. So we'll just call this Group A. The next step are questions. So we pre-populate all of these, and you'll notice they're the listening comprehension and discussion theme questions. So we have them here for you, but easily customizable. You can delete questions. You can edit them. You can delete and then add additional words, or you can just add your own question completely. So again, completely customizable. And editable as needed, depending on what your students need for supports. And then the last step here is to include instructions. So you can add anything you need to this box here. Say you need to add links or references to something you've already studied in class. Again, anything you need to help your students. And then this overview is pre-populated, but again, you can customize it as needed. And then once you click Save, your assignment is created. So you can always preview the assignment before officially assigning to any classes, just to get a look at what students will be assigned before you officially assign it. So you'll see the instructions here, and then once you pick a due date, that will also populate. You'll see the story summary, the audio, the interactive transcript, and then the written assignments you decided to include. I just want to point out here, you're going to see the text help toolbar populate, which I mentioned before. So let me just show you how that works. You'll highlight any words on the page and click play.
What were the reasons that?
And you'll see that the words were read out loud. And then you can highlight any word and get a dictionary definition, a Spanish translation, or a picture dictionary. So once you review and everything looks good, you can go back to that first tab, and then to assign, you'll just pick a class and you will pick a due date, and you can click here to only assign to certain students. But if you want to assign to the whole class, you can just click Assign to Class. And your assignment is officially created and sent off to your students. So now we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to show you about our lessons. So these are standard aligned for social studies, science, and ELA. So I'll just give you a quick preview of the types of stories you'll see on our platform, but more often than not, you're probably looking for a specific topic. So let's say you're doing a unit on immigration, so we'll search for that. And you'll see we have a number of stories related to immigration. So you can always filter your search results by subject, by grade and language challenge, and then by type of lesson. So I want to find a lesson that only has quiz and ELL supports. And then I'll click search again. And then you'll see that there are 3 icons here for stories. So language challenge is the level of listening complexity. So it will help you choose stories appropriate for your students. So it doesn't relate to the content of the story, but the complexity of the vocabulary, the sentence structure, and the language in the story. So not about the audio content itself, but the language of it. And you can always click on this icon to get a description of what low, medium, and high means. And then the other two icons are comprehension quiz, so that means there's a quiz available. And then this means that there is scaffolding and language supports available. I just want to quickly point out in the corner here, you can always browse by standards. So it will be customized to your state. So you can click here. It'll bring up a list of the standards for your state. So you can look into a subject and a grade and then identify the standard you want to meet and then find a lesson that way. But I'm going to click into a story now just to show you what our lessons look like. So this is Coming to America. It's a modern day story about Guatemalan immigrants working in the dairy industry. So lessons have a lot of great content. So I'll just quickly outline what we're going to cover. So you'll see all the resources you can include in written assignments, instructional supports for you when you're teaching, and then some suggested lesson plans. And then we're going to wrap it up by showing how to assign a quiz. So first up at the top here, you'll see it's very similar to current events. We have a few more details here. You'll see the language challenge, and you can always click on that for more description. And then you'll see it has the scaffolding available. So good pulse there. And then scrolling down to our different resources tabs, the story will still have the transcript. And if there are scaffolding supports, you'll have a speaker's guide. Over here in the Assignment Resources tab, you have the listening comprehension questions and discussion themes like our current events do, but we also have external materials. So this is helpful in building background, extending knowledge of a topic, or just introducing new topics. So you'll see these little icons here, which means that it's scaffolding. So you could introduce new topics if students don't know about it. So what a dairy cow looks like, or what a dairy farmer looks like. So you can include those as background builders. And then every lesson will have vocab. And then we'll always include listening organizers as well. So every lesson will have the language identification checklist. So for this, students can check off these sentences as they hear them, which is just a good tool for students who need extra support while they listen. And then again, you'll notice that scaffolding icon there. So clicking here, this is a good scaffolded ELL language listening organizer. So for this one, students will determine who the pronoun is referring to in the sentence based on the audio they just heard. So again, specifically focusing on language practice here. And then we also have the perspectives T-chart. So this is a content listening organizer. So students will write down perspectives of the immigrants and then the employers as they listen. And then just want to point out that you can always print your listening organizers. So students can either do it electronically via their computer, or you can print it. So if you're doing it in a larger group, you can always print it to have students complete on paper. And then the next tab here is the teacher's guide. So this is exclusively for teachers to help you before, during, and after you have students listening to a story. So we've done all the work for you up front. So there is a listening guide section. So how to activate student knowledge, how to introduce the story, and then how to use those listening organizers. And then even how to reflect on the story at the end. And just want to point out that your state standards will also populate here, so you can reference that while you're looking at a lesson. And then the next tab here is scaffolding. So all these resources that are for scaffolding and ELL supports will be here for easy access. So we have the listening comprehension questions, but with simplified language, so it's easier to understand. We also include tiered vocabulary. So tier 2 come from academic word lists, and then tier 3 here are subject specific. We also have a close listening with language practice section, so it helps you scaffold complex texts for those struggling readers or ELL students. So we provide language objectives, how to build background, how to pre-teach essential language and the words to focus on. and then a close listening guide. So since all of our stories are short, students can do multiple listens to get additional exposure to the content and the language of the story. And we give you things to focus on with each listen. And then lastly, we have language practice. So this just helps you meet the language objectives listed above, and it uses some listening organizers to help students focus on one aspect of the language in the story. If a lesson has a quiz, it'll be here on the quiz tab. So it will list every question and the possible answers and the correct answer, so you can easily preview before assigning to students. And you can always click on this button to preview the quiz. So this is fully functioning, so I'll just show you quickly how our quiz features work. So students will listen to the audio, and then they'll click next. And then these are our questions. So we have 5 to 6 multiple choice questions for every quiz, and they each focus on a different strand of listening comprehension. So vocabulary, main idea, and inference are some examples. And then once students complete the quiz, they will submit their answers, and then they will get automatic feedback on what they got right and what they got wrong. And then just want to point out that you will see the text help toolbar here again, because this is a student preview, but just want to note we only have the audio supports here because the quizzes do have vocab questions. We wanted to remove any dictionary supports there. And we'll go back to the quiz, or we'll go back to the lesson here and then just quickly follow up with this last tab here. So this is class activities. And you'll see it has ways to incorporate class activities from individual to small group, and then sometimes some lessons have large group activities. And then scrolling up here to the top, I will show you how to assign a quiz, but just want to point out you can always create a written assignment, and the process is very similar to what we just walked through with that current event story. So by clicking Assign Quiz, you will be taken to this page. You can always preview the assignment if you didn't do so before. And all you have to do is assign a class and pick a due date. And then you can assign by student. So perhaps everyone should be assigned the story, but only certain students should get those listening supports, which include the slower audio, the text help toolbar, and the interactive transcript. You can do so here. But if everyone should get the quiz and everyone should have listening supports, that's how you would do that here. And then you click Assign. And then you can always easily assign to your other classes with that two-step process again. So shifting gears here, just want to show you the Classes tab. So this is where you're going to do most of your class management. You'll see all of your student work and data organized by class. So just want to show you the ways to view quiz reporting. So there are 3 different views you can look at. So if you want to see an aggregate, how students are performing for all quizzes in one class, you can see the class summary report. So this is going to give you a high-level snapshot view of how the class is doing overall for main ideas, like for listening strands like main idea or inference. And you can also see how each student is doing overall with their quiz performance. And if you want to drill down into a student, you can click on their name. And then you can take a closer look at their progress here and really see how they're doing across the board. So by drilling down to this level, you can more easily see if a student is having a problem with a specific listening strand. So for this student, inference is the problem there. And then you can always view results by class for an individual quiz. So you can either find that through here or going back to the Classes tab and clicking on the assignment. So for the specific quiz, you'll see all the questions and how they relate to the listening strand. And then again, you'll see quiz performance broken out by student and then the overall performance. And you can always click on the X to see all of the correct answer and then what the student chose as well. So those are reporting features for quizzes. But if you want to look at written assignments, you'll go back to the Classes tab here and then click on the assignment you want to review. So we're going to look at the Coming to America story. So I had created some assignments for that story that we just reviewed in the Lessons tab. So at the top here, you're going to see every class it was assigned to, and you can also see student status here, so you can review student work from here. If you want to assign the lesson you put together, you can always assign to another class from here, and then it'll take you to the screen to choose a due date in the class. You can always share to Google Classroom through this page too, and you can edit the assignment or completely delete it. So just want to show you the preview of what a written assignment for a lesson looks like. So down below it will be here. You'll see the teacher instructions. You'll see the lesson objectives that we chose, and the additional materials will be here with the vocab underneath. The audio and the transcript will still be here. And then these are the listening organizers we chose. And then here are the written questions. And just want to point out that students don't have to complete all at once. They can always save their work and then come back to complete. And again, since this is a student preview, you will see that text help toolbar populate. So to review student work, you will click See Responses. So this is every student that was assigned that assignment, and then status. So if there's a submitted work, you can click on their name. And then from here, you can review their work and their answers. And then you can leave your feedback here at the bottom. And if you have multiple students' work to review, you can click Submit Feedback and Next, and it will bring up the next student's work to review. And then lastly, just some housekeeping things. Under the Classes tab, you can always click on the class name, and it will bring you to your roster. So you'll see everyone in the class, and from here you can reset their password or delete the student from your class. And then, as I mentioned before, you can always have instructions on how to invite more students, and then the class code that they'll need to join. And then over here on the Assignments tab, just want to show you that this is the assignments library. So any assignment you've created, you can come here and review it easily. We've added a tagging feature, so you can easily organize and categorize all of your lessons. And then from here, you can always click into an assignment, edit it, review it, or assign to another class. And then last up, just want to go back to the slides quickly. So a lot of teachers ask us how to use Listenwise in the classroom. So just want to share a few stories to give you some ideas on how to incorporate Listenwise into your classroom. So some teachers use it to engage students every Monday or kick off the new week or a new unit, just to introduce the topic and build background. You can always listen together or as a small group. So to introduce a topic, some teachers will choose one story and listen as a whole class, or they'll have students listen in pairs to related stories and then compare and contrast the stories they listen to. ESL teachers usually have a hard time finding quality listening content, so they use Listenwise for compelling stories, while also giving their ELL students extra listening supports, like the slower audio, the interactive transcript, and now the text help toolbar. And I think I mentioned before, but the debate stories posted on Friday are a great way to get students talking and thinking, and you can even work on persuasive writing skills. So you can really expand those lessons there. And then lastly, in states where listening is tested, teachers use Listenwise quizzes to prep students for the listening portion of the test. And these quiz results are really helpful to help teachers determine what listening strands need the most attention. So that wraps it up for this webinar. I hope this gave you a good overview of Listenwise and equipped you with the tools needed to get started. So if you have any questions or want further support, you can check out our teacher support site, support.listenwise.com. It has wonderful supports, especially for teachers now just getting started. You can always reach out to our support team at support@listenwise.com. You can always email me, Erica at Listenwise, with any questions you have. And we love to hear your feedback, so email me that or tweet your stories. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a good evening.